Today we'll be looking at some fragrant climbers because a lot of people are asking about fragrant climbers and what they should choose. And I grow a lot of climbers right now, and I'm definitely noticing some of them being more fragrant than others. So let's go ahead here and see what my picks are. I'll probably have about, well, 10, a bit over, a bit under, but probably about 10 for you today. The first one is Madame Isaac Pierre, and notice oftentimes when you're buying historic roses, you'll see a Madame is sometimes shortened MME. So don't be surprised if you see it written that way. It's still the same rose. It happens with a lot of French roses. But Madame Isaac Pereira is a really good, more raspberry fragrant rose, more like the Gallicas. So a wonderful fragrant rose, and it has sometimes been mentioned as the most fragrant of the historic climbers, and it has a really good fragrance. There's no doubt about it. So if you're in the market for a more historic climber and you want a bit more raspberry fragrance, um, this one should definitely be one you consider. So do remember though, with more historic roses, that they can suffer a bit more from diseases like black spot and all that. So and also they can be a bit more bare at the bottom. But that said, this rose has for many decades, if not centuries, impressed rose growers with its scent. And many rose growers would to this day say it is the most scented rose in the world. So don't discount it. It's still a decent variety to grow, in my opinion. Yeah, let's go back here and see what's next on the list. Next on the list is a huge fan favorite. It is probably, I would say, is one of the most fragrant climbers ever planted in the world. And it is, of course, the lovely Gertrude Jekyll, or Gertrude Jekyll. Uh, Gertrude Jekyll. And Gertrude Jekyll ranks about 8.5 on fragrance for me. It is a really solid climber, and if you want a scented climber to begin with, I think this is one of those you definitely should plant first, because it's really beginner friendly and it provides you a lot of blooms with a lot of stunning fragrance. This one has its fragrance from a historic rose called Comte de Chambord. So you get this lovely, nearly women perfume with a bit of citrus in it. It's a wonderful rose, and it can sometimes get a bit of black spot, but as long as you don't mind some of the lower leaves having a little bit of black spot, this is probably one of the most amazing fragrant climbers you can grow, and it is definitely well recommended from me, because it is simply very floriferous too. Besides being very scented, it is also one of the climbers that will give you the most blooms, and the blooms are really gorgeous, like really huge and well cupped. So it really has this charm of historic roses, and also the fragrance of, like I said before, Comte de Chambord. Now, Comte de Chambord is sometimes also mistaken by another rose called Madame Bull, and a lot of times these are sold as in the. Uh, Sometimes they're very confused if you get one or the other. So just be aware of that if you're ever planning on buying a competition board. But I can definitely tell you that Gertrude Jekyll is a rose to get for you. It is one of the most fragrant climbers and one of the most floriferous you can ever get. So a strong recommendation from me if you want to look for a climber. So let's go back here and take a look at our list. Yeah, the next one is Kiss Me Kate. Kiss Me Kate is one you can really consider if you want to avoid more of the black spot that is on Gertrude Jekyll. It's also a bit more, as you can see here, more warm in the pink color, where the other one is a bit more lavender, magenta, a little more cool. But it has a wonderful fragrance. Mine is still quite young, but I'm definitely getting an 8 out of 10 on fragrance on this one. It's a wonderful fragrant rose. And if you want a more modern, recently bred rose that is also really healthy and doesn't suffer the same health issues you see in a lot of the other older roses. Like the first I recommended, Madame Isaac Pierre, is nearly 200 years old, and Gertrude Jekyll is also nearly, I think she's like 40, 50 years old. Really old rose too. So if you want a newer variety that's a bit more healthy on the leaves, Kiss Me Kate will definitely do you well. So, and now we come to probably my favorite English rose on scent. It is Wolton Old Hall, and this is really a wonderful climber. Powerful, really strong myrrh fragrance. 9 out of 10 for me. It's simply amazing. In my opinion, it beats even Gertrude Jekyll on scent. It is not as floriferous as Gertrude Jekyll, and but the thing is, the blooms look like no other. Like the blooms are just masterpieces in themselves, and the scent is heavenly. And honestly, this is what Austin roses are all about. These beautiful, romantic, cupped shapes that are really scented, and Walton Old Hall really delivers. So if you are in the market for this more white fading to cream, um, or white and cream rose, it is really good rose to grow. There's also another one called Jute Obscura, but Jute Obscura is more of how to say it. Just look it up here. Yeah, as you can see, Jute Obscura is not really as climbing as Wilson Old Hall, and it's also a bit more um, amber colored, a bit more cream colored. And it's also not as strong as on scent, but it has a really strong scent nonetheless, but not as strong as Wilton Old Hall. Wilton Old Hall is still the most fragrant English rose for me. So, and the next one is Aloha, a rose. And yeah, when I mean Aloha Rose, I mean the original rose from the I think it's 1949 by Bonnier. So be very careful you don't buy the modern German one. That's more like this orange color. You want to get the more how to say it, the more pink one with the cooler tones, because the original one from the 1940s is really the one that's well sanded and will do amazingly for you in your garden. So Aloha Rose, a really strong choice also on fragrant, one of the most fragrant climbers too. Just remember to get the 1940s one, not the modern one, because there's a lot of Alohas out there. So 1949 Bonnier, as far as I remember. Let's see what the next one is. The next one is Oceana. Oceana. Now, Oceana is actually a rose you can also keep as a more of a small bush plant. Yeah, you can see it here. It's more magenta, but it's a wonderful climber, and you can grow it, as I said before, both as a small shrub or as a large climber. It depends on how you cut it, kind of like Gertrude Jekyll. You can also grow as a large climber and as a small shrub. If you cut off the vertical canes, so the thing with these plants is they will send out two forms of canes. They will send out canes where there are blooms at the end of, and then they'll send out canes, vertical canes, where there are like these 3 to 4 leaves at the end of. And if you see a really long, tall cane with a lot of leaves at the end of, then that is your vertical cane, and that is what you want to keep if you're growing it into a climber. But if you want to turn it into a shrub, then you cut off those canes and only hold or keep the small ones where there's no vertical climbing cane on. So just remember that. Cut off the vertical climbing canes if you want to keep them as these more compact shrubs. Oceana, another really wonderful rose for you to be grown as a climber. The thing with Oceana is sadly also that it wants to, how to say it wants to get a bit more bushy. So it's one of those climbers that wants to grow a bit further out from the wall and get more bushy. So she will give you a lot of volume, and you sometimes need to be a bit more careful how you place her because of that volume she gives you. But let's see here what the next one is. The next one is Nahima. Nahima. So let's go back here to our browser and let's just go back here. If I can get out of this one. It wants to block me here, it seems. Let's just see if I can't trigger it here. I really hate these websites that just kind of box you in. So let's see, and it was Nahima rose. Yeah, Nahima is another wonderful, and as you can see, it's a bit light pink. But it's a wonderful scented rose for you, and it will do just as well as Gertrude Jekyll or a lot of other really healthy, strongly scented roses. So it can really grow, as you can see, also quite large. It's a Delbart rose, and he always makes these wonderful storytelling roses. He really does. But Nahima is definitely a rose you can pick for blooms and scent. Wonderful rose. Like the climbers I'm showing you here are really the most strongly scented climbers in the world, really. So I really try to select the best ones, but sadly it also means there will be a lot of pink colors because oftentimes it is the damask rose where the pink color comes from that has this really wonderful perfume fragrance, where something like Isaac Perrier is more like from the Gallicas with this more raspberry, so it's one of the exceptions. But you tend to get a lot of these more damask fragrant roses with the pink colors because damask roses are simply amazing for fragrance. Like there's a reason in Bulgaria that Kazan Lake and all these damask roses are used for perfume production because the fragrance is simply amazing on them. And that's really how it goes with roses. Like pink roses are simply the ones where you get the most variety of fragrant roses. You have so much to choose from with the pink roses. And when we're picking climbing roses, there's no exception. You'll see more pink roses being the most fragrant. So let's go back here. And the next rose is Compassion Rose. Yeah, as you can see, Compassion Rose has a bit more warmer tone in it. It is a really good Harkness rose as far as I remember. And yeah, it is another wonderful fragrant rose. And if you want a more, giving you a lot of pink color ones, if you want a more orange colored one, you have something like Westerland Rose. Westland rose I actually don't grow as a climber. I prefer to grow it as a bush, as you can see here, because I think it also makes a wonderful bush. But definitely also a fragrant rose to consider. And let's just continue here. Yeah, the next one I was actually in doubt if I should put on the list. It is Crown Princess Margarita. The reason I was in doubt was it takes a long time to get going. Mine first started going after 3 to 4 years, but it has a wonderful fruity fragrance. Not the strongest, it's like a 7 out of 10, but fruity fragrance is just so wonderful in it that I had to include it also to get this really special color option for you into the rose assortment. But as I said, it takes a while to get going, 3 to 4 years. But after the 3 to 4 years, it starts turning incredibly healthy and a really good rose for you. So definitely consider Crown Princess Margarita if you want a more orange or amber color. Even though it can be a bit more tricky to get growing. Now you have something like you often see Austin roses. You see something like what is it called? It is called that's completely gone for me right now. Um, I'll just do yellow. Climbing Rose Austin is one of his most famous, but I don't really. Yeah, it's the Pilgrim. Of course, it's the Pilgrim. That name just disappeared from me on that one. Um, the Pilgrim is much more easy to establish, much faster growing, and it's also really healthy. But sadly, the fragrance on it does not match Crown Princess Margarita. So, and that's why I put her on here and not the Pilgrim. But I still think the Pilgrim is an amazing rose. It's just not the most strongly scented rose. And let's continue here and see what the next one was. The next one is Divina. Divina is actually a quite new rose, but mine is already quite fragrant. And as you can see, it is this really light colored rose. But it has a wonderful light color compared to the other roses. So Divina is definitely a rose you can consider. Really strongly fragrant also. I'm waiting to see if it beats a lot of the other German roses on fragrance because this is very new in the assortment. Mine is not as old yet, but I'm definitely getting a good fragrance from it. And usually they just get more fragrant as time goes on and they get older. So this is definitely a very promising rose. I think will rank very highly for me in the future, Divina. And let's see, what's the next one? The next one is a very untraditional choice. It is actually something that's usually grown as a historic rose and as a large shrub, but I have actually trained mine differently. It is Louis Odier. And Louis Odier, as you can see, can actually be trained quite well into a small obelisk or small climber. And the reason I've chosen to do that with Louis Odier is because of these really tall stems she gets. And another reason is she has a really powerful fragrance, about an 8 out of 10. A really pleasant fragrance with these really cup blooms, really good historic rose. And if you grow her very horizontally, you can get a more full bush instead of these more gangly canes, as you can see in some of the pictures. Like sometimes the problem with all historic roses, if you grow them too vertically, they get quite bare. But like I said, a wonderful fragrant old historic rose you can grow as a, a an obelisk, or you can grow like I would say it wants to get about these 2 meters. So if you just want something about the 2 meter mark and with really powerful fragrance, a real good old historic fragrance, Louis Odier is definitely something you should consider using for that instead of just using her as a bush, as many tend to do. Because I think sometimes she doesn't really lend herself to making these large bushes. Because for me, she's um, She simply gets too big for a bush. I like her more as a grown as a climber, really. But yeah, I think that was it for today. Even though I had some technical difficulties on this video, um, I'm still choosing to keep it there because I have noticed a lot of you are searching for climbing roses and want the fragrant climbing roses, and I hope this helps you. Definitely check out Gertrude Jekyll, Kiss Me Kate, and Crown Princess Margarita, and a lot of these. They'll give you a wonderful fragrance. They really will, and also Louis Rodier and Madame Isaac Pereira, and all these wonderful fragrant climbers. If you only had to choose one, it's a difficult choice because right now I have two that are kind of my favorites. I have Gertrude Jekyll, that was my old favorite, and then I have Kiss Me Kate, that is slowly starting to do extremely well and becoming my new favorite. So one of those will serve you well for sure if you're after a more pink climber. So that was really it for today, guys, and thanks you for listening.